where with the 15,000 Haitian migrants waiting at the border to come into the US, we're now seeing Border Patrol agents on horseback with what looks like lassos corralling up these migrants trying to come across the border. Now, when you're actually looking at the videos, that's not what's happening. I honestly thought that there was them using lassos to corral up migrants trying to come to America, but it's actually them with their reins on their horses, and we'll get more into that later. But the idea that right now this border crisis is largely in part to Joe Biden being elected in office, and suddenly we had a rush at the border with several people wearing t-shirts with Joe Biden let me in, freshly pressed and brand new. And it's like, how did this organized effort happen overnight where you're now having Haitian refugees trying to make it into America, and also we're shipping them back 5 to 7 airplanes a day back to Haiti and just no federal government response? But the other part about this is just the internet's response, where you're seeing this guy named Sawyer Hackett online saying, he's a verified Twitter user, saying, Border Patrol is mounted on horseback, rounding up Haitian refugees with whips. This is unfathomable cruelty towards people fleeing disaster and political ruin. The administration must stop this. Where I can agree with a couple things and disagree with this person, because I imagine the way that they are part of at Julian Castro's People First future, I think this is a left-leaning person. I may be wrong, but you have this over here saying the administration must stop this. And I agree that we need to be able to say, don't run at the border and just expect to be brought into the country. This is not something that is sustainable on any level for any country in the first world, for that matter. But also the idea they say this is unfathomable cruelty towards people, and it's a thing of they're using whips, but are they whipping the migrants as they come across the border? Absolutely not, because when you're looking at this image from Danny Versrell, it says that yes, he's grabbing this migrant that's bringing over some plastic bags of styrofoam containers, which I believe is food. And these are the same styrofoam containers I believe they were handing out at the border itself to give to the migrants. They had porta potties, meals, and also water for them. And also, I believe they were giving medical care to a woman that just gave birth over there. So it was something that we were providing. I've seen in other articles that they say that they're just walking over to Mexico, getting takeout, and walking back into America, where, yes, it's bad imagery when you have them grabbing them over there at the border. But what is the alternative right now? Because let's make something clear right now, because I do know a bit about horses, where these aren't whips. They're not whipping the migrants coming over the border. This is the rein for the horse. So if you don't understand, like if you're looking at the mechanism in that horse's mouth right now, it's something called a bit. It goes in their mouth. So a very well-trained horse, all you need to do to make them turn is, if you're taking the reins and it's like 2 ropes, it becomes 1 rope and you hold on to it. If you just slightly pull on one side, or even sometimes you can just put the rope on one side of the horse's head, they will know to turn that way because it turns their head to turn that direction. So you're going to have some extra give on that rope. And also, people don't like it, but they also whip the horse, and they also will use spurs, like these jagged circle edges or jagged circle things into their boot that kind of pokes the horse. Now, if you use the whip or the spur on a human being, it's going to hurt. It's going to be pretty damaging to them. But if you think about a horse being 5 times, 10 times the mass of us, where if you push the horse, they're barely going to feel it. But if you kind of tap it with a jagged edge, or you hit them with a whip, so it's a bit of a snapping, pinching sensation for them, they're going to feel it. Now, have you ever seen a horse being trained? The amount of whipping that they give them to make them go into an enclosed area, for them not to react to something in their peripheral vision, where horses are just, they're fleeing animals. That's what they do in nature. So to train that out of their nature takes an awful lot of training. And if you want to argue that using spurs, a bit in their mouth, or using a whip or blinders on them, that's cruelty to them, that's an entirely different discussion. But don't sit here and say the way they're treating those horses, they must be treating those they must be using that on the human beings too. That's cruelty. No, you're just taking something, using a still frame, and trying to say something different happened, and that's basically lying to the people. But backing up a bit on my horse talk right now, is you have Bel Malugan over there, where shout out to Bel Malugan and whatever feelings you have about Fox News right now. If it wasn't for this one individual journalist, we would not be aware of this at all. And if it wasn't for this journalist standing up to the FAA and saying, I'm not going to listen to you and you blocking my drone, I'm going to reach out to local law enforcement to show the people the crisis at the border, despite the fact that the mainstream media, and also, well, Fox's mainstream media, but the larger part of it, CNN, MSNBC, all the other outlets, but the other portions ignoring it. You have the federal government ignoring it. Lots of different areas around the world just ignoring the fact that we have this crisis right now. So shout out to him, because credit where credit's due. None of us would know about it without him. So looking at what's happening at the border, where they're bringing in the Border Patrol on horseback, and it's it's necessary at this point in time, because if you look at the other videos where they're saying they're whipping invaders and not talking to them, it's not true. They're just trying to block them from coming in this large group of people. So this video is from Al Jazeera and John Holman, but if you look at more of this video footage, which it's probably going to glitch out on me right now, but you're seeing this video footage over here where it doesn't look good because they're pushing them back. But this is the other video from Sawyer Hackett, where this is what happens when people don't even respect the law. They're saying, hey, we're gonna go, we're in America right now, we're gonna go back to Mexico, pick up some more food, and now, oh look, law enforcement's there. I don't care. Like most people, when they're about to commit a crime, which is crossing the border not the right way, that's a crime. If you were about to do something illegal like jaywalk, if you saw a cop, you likely wouldn't do it right in front of them. But apparently these people doing a much bigger crime than that see law enforcement like, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and just still grab food and go over there. So people are upset at the idea that they have the reins in their hand, they're rotating them around and stuff like that, and it looks like they're going to do a lasso move, but at no point in time do they actually implement it. You don't see them being hit, you just see them having them back off, where now you know that these migrants don't respect the law at all. They know nothing's going to happen to them, and it's almost just like a game of chicken where Border Patrol knows the rules of engagement. They're actually not going to lasso any of these people. They're actually not going to whip any of these people, and they know that, so they're just going to kind of try to gracefully walk around these horses because they know there is no bite behind their bark right now. They're just Border Patrol agents. Yes, they're trying to stop them. Yes, they're going to try to grab them. But I mean, there's really not. What happens when this Border Patrol agent grabs this person? They're going to say, hey, get out of here, go back to Mexico right now, or they're going to try to process them back on the airplane to send them back to Haiti. Like, what's going to happen? Where I really don't know if there's anything that they're afraid of other than just, hey, it's a slight inconvenience, we're going to get set back a little bit, then we'll be on our way back the next month or the week after that. It's nonsense. Where you have from El Paso Times over there saying the Haitian migrants face tough choices in Del Rio amid the crackdown of the Texas-Mexico border, where you're looking at what they said. The Border Patrol agents are saying, let's go, get out now, back to Mexico, where they're upset about that. And they said the agent swung his whip menacingly, charging his horse towards the men at the river that were trying to return to an encampment under the international bridge in Del Rio after buying food and water in Acuna, Mexico. One migrant fell as he tried to dodge. Others shielded their heads with their hands. Really trying to paint this as the worst case scenario by far, where I feel for these people. I obviously am someone that migrated to America, and it's one of those things of, yes, escaping things is something that they're just going to naturally do, and I imagine that if it's so bad in their home country and they just have a slight glimmer of hope of having a better life in America, yeah, I understand they're going to come back later on, but what can America do to help them or to stop the crisis at the border? Because now we're seeing crazy things like there was a bee attack over at the Rio Grande into Texas where 4 were hospitalized, and we're taking care of them, but you know that the trek to America is not sunshine and happiness. How many women report that they were assaulted by men on the way to Mexico, and it's a large thing? How many of them are victims of other horrendous crimes after they make it to America? And it's a thing of, we gotta stop this pipeline of just unregulated migration that is oftentimes dangerous, that it results in them having a much worse life if they made it here than if they stayed home. It's one of those things of, yes, there's got to be a solution. It's not going to look pretty, but that's life. So every single time they try to get a handle on it, you can't say that, you know, one migrant fell to the ground, the other one shielded his face with his hands. It's going to look bad, but I mean, why are we getting angry at the local person trying to figure out a way around this? Because I don't think that they woke up that morning and saying, yes, today I get to, you know, punk some people that are just trying to get a better life for themselves and their family. Maybe they're the ultra racists and that's what they're thinking, but I would like to think that they aren't. But the idea that none of this video footage is consistent with them saying they were whipping them or they were lassoing them. I'm sure if there was a small video clip of one Border Patrol agent getting fed up and actually using their whip or their lasso or their horse in an inappropriate way, that would be on the front page of every single mainstream media outlet saying that the Greg Abbott's Border Patrol is out of control. We need to stop them. This is a crisis of humanity at the border. Like, we would see that. The fact that there's an absence of that makes me think that there were no instances of it because we're not seeing it anywhere else. Because you're looking at this where, what is happening right now? What is our federal government doing where we had the most popular president in U.S. history in office? They had such great high hopes for him to be able to handle all the issues better than Donald Trump. And you're seeing this on the Daily Mail saying thousands of Haitian migrants cross the Rio Grande back into Mexico to avoid deportation as Department of Homeland Security ramps up expulsion to 7 flights a day. But Biden and Harris still remain silent on the crisis, where Biden, he's in Delaware right now, and Harris is the border czar, and I haven't heard a single word from her, or other than Jen Psaki, the press secretary, deflecting questions about it. Now you're seeing imagery over from Biden in Delaware by the beach where he's just out there riding a bike, and one thing is, I don't think it's wrong for Biden to ride bikes over the beach. I don't think it's wrong for Trump to go to Mar-a-Lago. I don't think it's wrong for Obama to have a vacation or anything like that. But I think that if we're facing several crises simultaneously, 15,000 people at the border right now, 10 kids getting droned overseas, you're having the French ambassadors being pulled from the US and Australia over an arms deal that we made with Australia. I don't think this is the time to take a vacation. And I think if I was at my workplace and there was just 4 major things that each could get me fired, and all of a sudden at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take some PTO. Hope you guys take care of this. I think that this is something that if we have the most important person in America right now ignoring the crises, what are the Republicans doing right now? I don't know. But you're starting to see that, Haitians at the Kuna bus station are now leaving southbound trips. Giving up the American dream based on panic about Biden deportations to Haiti, where Tan Benzman is posting this video over here where they're getting loaded up in airplanes being sent back, which looks like they're being peaceful. So, I mean, at least this looks pretty, this doesn't look pretty, like there's no atrocities occurring with this right now. But you're seeing this picture being posted by Tony Gonzalez, which is a congressman of Texas's 23rd district, and he's also Master Chief for the U.S. Navy, retired. And he says, barren grocery shelves in Del Rio, Texas 23 is tired of Biden putting America last, where you're seeing this shelf absolutely empty, and it's like, okay, maybe the people at the border were there was a run at the grocery store where they didn't know if their grocery store would be supplied. Maybe we're having trucking issues over there. Maybe that there is having production issues, or maybe the people that were helping the migrants waiting at the border, you saw those styrofoam containers. Maybe they were saying, hey, let's go ahead and get a whole bunch of sandwiches and make them so they can eat, and we're not having, thousands of migrants passing away at the border, which would be a much worse crisis. But people are rightfully pointing out that I get misled all the time, and I'll post a video where I'm talking about something and it's a video from something else. Most recently, it was the volcanic eruption in La Palma, and I had some video footage from Greenland's volcanic eruption, and the nature of social media, you're going to be misled. It's going to happen. So they're saying this image over here saying, hey, this congressman's posting this video. It's got terrible artifacts on it. It's really old. It's shot with an iPhone 2. Like, what's up with this? And then somebody replies to this saying, it's a picture taken during Trump's pandemic, early 2020, where this is not the same image. Like, why is this image in HD? This image is taken with a potato, but if you're looking at the bread, the way that it's there, this is not the same image. But they're trying to say that, one, it's an old image, I have the proof, when they don't have the proof, and two, it's taken during Trump's pandemic. At what point in time do we see a pandemic? We have a crisis at the border. 15,000 migrants. We don't know what to do with them. Bring them into the country. I don't think their life is going to be much better than if they're sitting at the border, because where are the jobs? Where's the food? Where's the hospitals? Where's the shelter? Like, they just don't have the capacity to take in those people. And if they see 15,000 people being successful, you're willing to bet 100,000 more people are coming right after them. And the idea that this is the time where they say there's a crisis, let's go ahead and slam dunk on Trump a year ago. Even though Donald Trump, he can't make a Facebook account, he can't make a YouTube account, he can't post on Twitter, and he's been largely deplatformed, and even supporting him makes you look like a racist in the public eye. Let's go ahead and slam dunk on him because this is his fault. It's like, no, you have a president right now. Regardless of what happened, let's try to figure out how we can solve this issue without trying to say, hey, it's somebody else's fault. Now I feel morally superior to you because I didn't cause the kids in cages, but now we have more. But this is actually worse than it was before. Like, the amount of like reasoning and mental gymnastics you need to do to say, hey, look, I know there's a crisis and people are starving in Texas right now. Let's go ahead and take this opportunity to say that Trump is the bad guy. Ha ha, conservatives, checkmate. It makes no damn sense, because to me, this looks like we have a crisis right now. And obviously, I'm not the president. I have nothing comparable to it. But if I came into work and I saw a terrible situation to this magnitude at my workplace, and I had my employees saying, it's this guy's fault. No, it's this guy's fault. I'd be like, hey, look, everybody shut the F up and fix it. I don't care whose fault it is. We can't let this happen. We can't let this get worse. And it's a thing of, the more we point fingers at each other, the worse it gets. And it's just a thing of, why are we trying to posture for the next election? Why are we trying to make sure that everybody votes the correct way when it's like, I don't think any single person over here that's in that community in Del Rio or waiting to get brought in, they're a Haitian migrant waiting to get brought into the U.S. I don't think they care who's in office or what kind of election is going to happen or who gets the nice cushy salary and retirement plan next election season. It's just fix it. Stop fighting. Stop bickering. It doesn't solve anything. So if you appreciate my take on these things, where I kind of dislike all political parties at this point in time, I don't want to put their, buy the jersey of anybody that's promising me something in election season and put their jersey on the back of my shirt and saying, well, I support this guy because I feel like no matter what, they're probably going to disappoint us. And I think it's less time should be spent on blaming somebody and feeling morally superior on social media saying, I vote for the right guy. I do the right things. Shame on everybody voting otherwise. It's like, no, let's just pressure them to solve it as opposed to trying to pat them on the back